Welcome to Winchester, Tennessee. This is Derek Kimball with Deham Good Barbecue. Please give us a like and follow at dehamgoodbarbecue.com and check us out on YouTube and our other social media. This is Winchester, Tennessee. So if you love doing barbecue contests, this was a backyard contest only, and it was a lot of fun. The location was great. You're near a lake. They had live music that night. They had a big carnival. The camaraderie was awesome. The teams were awesome. I'm not big on doing ancillary contest, but this one was kind of neat. They had a like an anything taco, and what you're seeing right here is we're doing a taco soup. We decided to do something just outside of the box, and I'm not very experienced in this category. You go up a lot of talented teams, people who do like catering and things like that. So we just thought we'd do something a little bit different. So a lot of teams turned in some really cool stuff. We ended up actually getting 11th in this, and I was really happy with that because, like I said, I usually don't do a lot of ancillaries. This one was kind of required. Wobblers put it on. They provided the meat. You had taco meat or chorizo, so I thought that was really nice. This contest was it was fun. It was challenging. Excuse me, because later on you will see we had to fight some of the basically rain that moved in. And it's funny that this happened during the second contest that I did this year. In my first video I did where we competed in Calhoun, I think I'd mentioned I've done two contests. One was a pro. Really, I did one because the second contest I think I'd mentioned there was a backstory, and the backstory was this: there was I did a pro competition many years ago in Maryville, Tennessee. It was a wonderful contest, except I couldn't finish it because we had a thunderstorm that moved in that had 70 to 80 miles per hour winds, a lot of rain. I got soaked. My smokers got wet. It was a mess. And that was the last contest I had done up until Calhoun, and so this was the second contest this year. And ironically, we had to fight rain, but not that strong, and no winds. So this time I'm actually only cooking on my pit barrel, and I decided to bring my Weber because I can fit several ribs in. I can fit, three either on the top or bottom. Here you're going to see me do three rack of ribs on the bottom near the water pan, just for the fact that I can put a pan of chicken on top. I did two pans of chicken this time. I did legs. I can see now why teams sometimes do three, four, maybe even five racks of ribs. At the Calhoun contest, I think I did two. And I think if you see this video here, like the rib on the left and the middle one, obviously I feel like had the straightest bone. So sometimes you just have to cook a lot of meat to, visually get the uniformity that you want. And not all ribs or all the racks are going to cook evenly. So I think we actually took bones out of two of the three. So, I mean, that's the way it goes. And this one, I also learned that, maybe doing two pans of chicken instead of one will probably be the best for me. And I broke my cardinal rule. I always say, especially with chicken, if you're going to do either thighs or drumstick, pick one, get really good at it, and just stick with it. And I did drumsticks on this one. I think I was just wanting to kind of nail that down for myself. We ended up getting 23rd, I believe, in chicken, and spoiler alert, we got third in ribs. So it was my first official walk. I put them in a rib rack. I did the full water pan. The Weber, I felt like I had more control over the heat, and just kind of slowed it down at a lower temp. And of course I did end up spritzing this. I think everything I did with these really, really, really helped. Sometimes I don't spritz. Sometimes I'm like, it could hurt the bark. But I literally went full on every little thing I've learned with barbecue as far as like wrapping, spritzing, injecting. We injected these ribs. I had to pull out literally every trick. Same thing with the drumsticks, but I am glad I brought my Weber just for the fact that I could cook an extra rack there. I might even do 4 next time, and that way I've got plenty to choose from. We did 2 pans. I think it ended up coming out for the chicken. We did 2 pans, 8 in each, I believe. And then we boxed 6, and then you'll see when we do the ribs, I believe we did 6 or 7, but we'll see that. Of course, I'm seasoning under the skin, trying to give a layer of flavor for the judges to like. At the beginning of the video, I think you maybe saw me light my Weber. I actually had a team come over and ask. They asked me like, "What did you do?" Lately, I've been using vegetable oil and a paper towel. I did bring my torch, my propane torch, in case just the lighting the coals, just because the temperature started to drop, so it started to become very cool. I've used wax cubes. I've used the other things that you can light, and sometimes you get a dud. So I just feel better doing a paper towel, some vegetable oil, light it, set it on the rack, and let it go, and then dump this. I do cook with a water pan when I do my Weber. Seasoning the drumsticks with my hickory. I actually changed up the flavor profile this time. At Calhoun, I did hickory rub with my ribs, mesquite with the chicken, and I switched it. I'm glad I did because I think I'm onto something with my mesquite rub and ribs, or just in general with my mesquite rub and the pork. The judges really, I think, enjoyed our ribs and how we did this profile this time. In the Calhoun contest, I actually made my own kind of like rib wrap kind of early. I had it in a bottle. I dumped it in there. This time I did not. I brought Parquet squeeze butter. It's just easier to store, and I don't have to slice any cubes of butter. And put some brown sugar in some old rub containers I had, and I think I had like 4 or 5 of those just packed with brown sugar. I want to make sure I had plenty of that. So we did honey, did the typical wrap that you can do on the ribs, and we had to really babysit these because I think around this point, I mean, the temperature at this contest started to drop. We can feel that there possibly could be a rainstorm on its way. Started out with a light drizzle. When you do these contests, you're challenged either the heat or all elements, different elevations and cooking times, things like that, and of course bad weather. So I try to cook in all types of weather when I'm at home, just so I can get good with whatever gets thrown my way. And you'll see through this process, I mean, we're pulling these ribs out, I'm temping them, and then I'm wrapping them. I think I had 1 or 2 get done, then I had to put one other rack back on. They were cooking fine, and then when it started to go off and rain, they kind of like stalled in some of the racks. The temperature had actually dropped. So I really had to extra baby these things. So I was actually worried about these and did not think they were going to come out to the way I liked them. I actually thought we were going to hit higher on the chicken. I really like how the drumsticks turned out, but I'm going to go back to thighs and go back to putting hickory rub on our chicken, but do the thighs, do a couple pans, and maybe even trim them a little lower. So hopefully, when I do a couple more contests later this year, I'll share kind of my experience with maybe just changing a few things up that I'm learning on the barbecue comp trail. So we got 3 racks. I'm doing double foil. I think later on you see me maybe add a little bit more water. Later on the contest, I really don't add much more water. I ended up just letting the water evaporate and then kind of letting everything just stay wrapped in the foil and let that process take place. I did 1 rack on my pit barrel, and then another rack on this Weber on the top rack. And I'm just going to monitor one rack and then temp the other two. Of course, I'm not worried about the actual temperature. A lot, you'll see me later on. I'm like checking a bunch of different spots, but I go by feel. If you haven't done a lot of barbecue comps, or if you're new to barbecue, um, the one thing that I've learned is, temperature's a guide, but well, you go by feel and go by the tenderness. This is where the temperature, it was like, I did the vegetable oil on the paper towel. I lit it. It was kind of going slow, but the rain is coming down a little bit more. The temperature, it definitely was starting to cool off. You can see I've actually got my jacket on. I think I maybe had it on most of the contest, but starting out, I don't think I really did. But I mean, it was really starting to cool off. The big thing, if you're struggling with drumsticks, what I learned, and you got to be careful here because I do end up washing the rub off of one or two as well, especially that one, the chicken. But just basting these in butter as I go every 15 to 20 minutes, it really seemed to help with the skin not pulling up from the base or from the end of the leg there. I ended up putting a little bit more rub on, but just basting these, it really seemed to help render the fat under the skin. I feel like I had a really good bite through. So my scores actually on the chicken were really, really good, even though I had a 23rd place. Um, uh, there was a couple pieces in there. Yeah, they all cooked differently. I got dinged on a little bit of the tenderness, a little bit of the flavor profile, so I may have to change up a little bit of what I'm doing with the sauce, but I'm not going to go way crazy. Um, if you do one or two contests and you score decent, but you didn't score high, don't change up everything that you do. But I think I'm just way better at doing thighs than I am the drumsticks. So I'll just I'll do my adjustments with that. I think later on you're going to see, I'm going to try to stop talking at one point. You're going to see how heavy the rain is. I really had to manage my tent because in the corners there, the rain was causing some areas to sag. If this is the first time checking these, I really like how everything's coming along. I was doing like about a 2-hour process of letting it smoke, and then I was kind of gaining for doing a 2-hour wrap process roughly. I'm also looking at how the pullback on the bone is doing. I think right before I wrapped these, if you watched, I was kind of pushing at the ends of the bones. And I do that. A good thing to watch for is pull back on the bones. You can see that the meat is getting tender that way. But also, I mainly do it. It's really for appearance. I want even pullback. That way, when you place it in the box, it's just an appearance thing. But if you're just kind of going old school cooking at home, one of the things to look for is that pullback on the bone. The meat is really starting to get tender. And sorry if I'm blocking the temperature on some of these, but I took these to between 205 and 208. I think I had some spots on one rack was 207, maybe one rack was 205, but 205 to 208 seemed like to be kind of the sweet spot. I mean, I hit some spots that were really, really tender, but as much as I had to wrap these, put them back on, check it, temp drop, I mean, it definitely, this contest, just with the weather, was a little bit of a challenge. And you can see I pulled our tables back in. You can see a little bit of rain on that moving sheet. So we went from like a 10 by 10 tent. It felt like we were in like a 5 by 7 space just because how far we pulled the tables in. I think this is my second time checking these. Yeah. So I think by turn in, it wasn't coming down like that, but we had a good 30 or 45 minutes of. I mean, it was a good downpour. But if you love doing contests, if you've never been to Winchester, they put on a really, really wonderful contest. It was a lot of fun. They had a few other ancillaries. They had a burger contest. I didn't do that one. I think they had a dessert one. And they had a lot of really, really, really great turn-ins at those. If you like doing the full gamut, ancillaries, the whole 9 yards, again, the people that put this on did a really, really good contest. A lot of teams here have competed this one, I think, many a time. So it was a neat town. It loved where they had it. It was absolutely beautiful. So we're again babying these. I can't. My temperature on the base of that, I was trying to keep around 275. We did drop there, I think, for a while, and I had to adjust the vents where I just opened my vents on my Weber, like I just opened them full and got the temperature back up. But we had to play around with that. You could see I picked it up because I was looking for the bend, and I really liked how they felt. And I lit one because I felt like it might almost be getting too tender there. I did had some. I think on one of these, when I flip them over, there's some blowback where the bone just kind of came through on the back side, which kind of worried me if I put that one in, maybe they would take a bite and the meat would pull completely off. But they hit, and they started to feel good. I usually let them vent for around a minute just to slow down the cooking process. I think I'll let these rest for almost a complete hour, which is kind of what I allotted to as a 4-hour cooking process, an hour rest, and that way I've got that hour to adapt if one or two of these is cooking slow. Um, I found probably the biggest, maybe so far I wouldn't say the biggest challenge, but is just the time. I mean, you think, okay, it's going to take 4 hours to cook some ribs, but one contest it may take 3.5, another one may take just slightly over 4. Then you have to adjust your rest times, cook times. I decided to put that one on top just so it's just easy to grab because my chicken was coming along fine in the pit barrel. And that one that I placed on the bottom, I wasn't too worried about. And my other two racks it hit my mark. So the chicken, if I didn't mention, I took to 200. Some hit slightly above. I was fine with that. The drumsticks I used, I believe, were from Trader Joe's because it seems like the ones I use from there have done the best when I'm cooking at home. So, and I probably could have went to 205, 207. I really cannot remember what my overall final tip was. So I'm hitting like 194, 195 on that pan. And I knew I wanted to go a little bit higher, and that was my other one. Because my target temp was definitely at least 200. The sauce I used was my sweet and tangy. For the drumsticks, I stuck with just mixing my sweet and tangy with a little extra honey and the blackberry sauce. I feel like it just kind of gives an overall good flavor, a good gloss. But with my ribs this time, I did sweet and tangy with extra honey, and I actually did peach preserves, and I pre-mixed it, and then took it in a normal half-gallon container, and then I take a portable little 2 burner and I heat that up and then store it in like a tumbler that keeps it warm for 12 hours. So you just saw the plating of my box there for the chicken. When I cut these, my confidence in these actually went up. It was just finding, picking out of 3 racks, I was like, man, I gotta find 6 that are like just real straight, not kind of crooked and wonky like these are. So the next contest, I'm probably actually gonna cook 4 racks. I'm gonna stick with my Weber, and again, all you have to do is put 6, but I may try to get more next time, but as long as it looks neat. So we found which ones started to look even, and the best. I want to say maybe this one wasn't as tender as the other ones. That first rack I cut was really, really good. And I end up hitting it. I normally don't like the brush marks in these, but I hit it right towards around the end with some extra maple syrup. I just had a feeling maybe go a little sweeter with these, so you know, so the flavor profile, the tenderness I hit. Um, Not trying, when at Calhoun I tried to fit 8 in. It wasn't my best box. It really didn't look good, but keeping hitting these with like 6 in there, and just the whole flavor profile seemed to really hit. I had a couple of them give me 9 straight across the board. I think the person that either won the whole thing or won first in red, I think was actually on the same table as me. If you ever get your judging results, definitely analyze the whole thing about those. So, thanks for watching.